it is time for your Oracle report, your Oracle Uncensored report. And just a reminder, I do these because I am being targeted on Facebook, and I knew I was going to have to get to that point where I could speak freely and say what during difficult times. And I don't mind them, real humans, I don't have a problem with it. It's the bots and being targeted by paid ads to, or the bots removing my statement. So thank you for joining. I'm going to use out a little more so I can give people a sense of what these are about. But it is really to give you the information we need to know. We need knowledge. We need the connection and opening that connection. And then we need to do our best to take care of our physical. And I got to tell you, I have just moved. Here's the new place. Looks kind of, and don't be deceived. I'm in a country. It's good, but things don't work. It's kind of about 90% finished. And I went, you forgot the bathroom mirror detail. So we'll see if we can work it out. I do admit that was noisy. Here we are, Ecuador. Let me not move on to my woes, except I've just been in a bit of pain this week. So let's start with the first thing, which is space weather. And I want to, how do I do this? Remembering how. Putting another, I don't have to put me. I can just put the whole screen on. That would be better. Okay, go. Go. I need to do this every day, y'all, because I'm forgetting how to use it. I don't know when it did work before. Let's try the shared screen part. Share screen. Oh, hit the share screen button. Okay, I know. Screen sharing works best on a good computer. No kidding. Oh, they make it easier for me. Thank you. All right, so we start with weather. And the first thing I want to talk about is this hour-long video from Suspicious Observers. And they are looking at the CIA classified and now released, and somebody found the whole Arrest document. This was written by Chan Thomas, who went to work for the CIA, but it's really about the sixth civilization and how it's come to an end. And big catechology is what it's called. And so this is a story about what is going on there, and why we got to pay attention to it. It is worth to get caught up in all of this stuff. I have been watching this channel for about 4 years, and so I'm pretty adept on the language of the papers and the looking for black holes and what is CERN really doing and those kind of pieces. And these are the guys, are young astronomers that have really done well, and they have an app called the Prediction Disaster app. And let me look for it on my phone. Which my phone didn't. Oh, okay. Doesn't. You know, it's so interesting. Every time I try to do this report, I get the most technology problems. I'm like, oh, I know what you guys are doing. Stop it. So, nope, I don't have anything. You know, usually what I look for is disaster prediction app. That is what it looks like. If you get that little magnetosphere protecting our Earth, and we look at, it shows you the earthquakes. I should need to put this on the big screen and do that another time. So I will give you that, but it is one I want you to think about. I think it's like $10. I mean, not expensive. It's worth it. And when you learn how to use it, you can start paying attention. But earthquakes are predictable. Tsunamis are not. And those are the ones you'll have an earthquake under the water, under the ocean floor. And so we just get the effect of it, and we're a little late on that. So I advise don't live on the coast for that reason. Either way, here's the pieces we need to start paying attention to. Okay, so that is that first story. The next one. Oh, this is fun. I like this. Oh, back to the Epstein story. Oh, yeah, yeah. So this is interesting because this young man was a filmmaker in South Africa, and his sister was kidnapped in what they call corporate pedophilia, and she was gone for 8 days. It was rather miraculous that they were able to get her back. And he wrote her story and had to do the research and created a documentary. Now, if you'll pay attention, this is the conservative review that I've given you a link on because this is a Fox News story. I'm getting more out of Fox News these days than I ever expected, y'all. So, but I go everywhere for information. So as long as you can give me something I need to know, I want to know. So here's the big story on this. The average price for a child to be kidnappers make 200,000 to 250,000. The average lifespan of a child in this situation is 7 years because there's no way out. They're either out by murder, by suicide, or drug overdose. The youngest age is they rescue children 2 years of age. The average age, America leads with the youngest, was the age of 12. So the 300,000 per day children are sexually molested, raped, basically raped. They're prostituted out. And at $200 a pop, they're high volume as the board. Pimps do what pimps do. So it was just kind of like, oh, the corporate pedophilia was the and doing young girl agent, and then quickly followed into rape, shame, hide it, give her to other girls to train her, or they call them the bottom feeders, and keep her in the system. And yet this guy's story was within 8 days, she had been raped 52 times in 3 different states. And I was like, wow, they move these girls around quickly. So, and I know that's part of it. You can't let them or anchor to know anybody to get help. And like most working girls, they got to travel to work. So I know Backpage and the online websites for professional escorts or prostitutes who are adults have been shut down because of this. So it's an interesting, the battle that I've looked at from that perspective. I know women who were put out of work because they couldn't advertise and they have to go further underground, but they're still findable. So these guys who are doing the children, it's an interesting network, and I'm not quite sure how that works, but it is real. It is there. Boys are now the newest commodity to be picked up. They're 2% and growing. 98% are girls, but 2% and growing are the numbers for boys. In Thailand, when I was there was a nonprofit organization called well, I'm bringing in their tagline, boys should not be bought. And bought was spelled with BHAT, which was the currency that we used in Thailand. And it was effective in working with young boys and supporting them. They're usually refugee children who have no ID. And so a lot of illegal children or children that are not in the mainstream system, or they don't have an ID number, which means a birth certificate. Because with the birth certificate, you get the insurance number. And we'll talk about financial and stuff. Oh, by the way, please let me know any interests you have so I can start doing research. I go all over the place. I look at financial as well. And the IRS issue, I want to talk about that. I should make a note for that. But somebody will remind me. Okay, so what's going on that? So, well, hello, be and 1,000 a day coming out of Texas a day. So it was like, oh, this is, um, and if you're a girl can be, how many times can she be raped in a day? 10. This girl was 852. There you go. Got a lot of numbers there. So keep that in mind and take care of your family. Okay, more. Share. Oh, okay. Share. Let's go to technology because this is a little better than what I want to get into. Army scientists successfully teleport soldiers from Massachusetts to Germany. This is May 2019. I'm so fucking ugly. And Lady Gaga, okay, on the side. So this is about the improvement in the technology since World War II first started. The year what's going on with the Philadelphia experiment, but the Massachusetts they're getting some miles because now. My question is, are they using it to Mars? I remember a story a couple of years back about or having an engine that can get you to Mars in 28 days. And I was like, I tested that one. I got it, and it's probably improved. So it's like, okay, you can get to Mars in a little over a month. So I was like, or a month, basically. So that is a great option. We're getting there. So there's that story, and you have that link for that. Okay, so next I got to go to, there's got to be a way to let me do this way. It's not. Okay. All right. Stop. Share again. Go to the Chrome tab and go to bone water. So we've heard of bone broth and to strengthen our bones. And this is the story out of France, the catacombs, which is where they stored dead bodies in Israel, if you remember your catacomb story, and the lepers that lived in these spots. But this is France where I remember this story when I was in college, in undergrad. And it was because the story that was given to me then was that they didn't have enough graves during the plague. So I want to show you that big. Hey, Miss Gilda, how you doing? And so they went to putting them underground. However, the story coming out now is that these were dug up bodies that were from the plague, and they created these structures with them, and water flowed, and so you got that bone water in yours. Now, if they had a medical excuse, I don't know. But it was, I've just heard it as a history lesson, not from the medical perspective. But you get diseased bones and you're going to have to deal with them. So that was kind of shook I got to rewrite history again and relearn history again because it's not as they said it was. Okay. Next story I want to share with you is kind of on the same lines, but this is a patent shared with me, and I've heard some similar stories about this, but because again, history lessons. I remember cement being made out of fat and hair and blood, but it was animal fat and animal blood that was used to make the mortars in homes and indigenous communities. Well, here's this guy has use of blood and cement mortar for concrete. And so this is lightens the material, but then you're again exposed to where are they obtaining the blood? I don't know. But if we're getting it from traumatized animals, you've got a problem with these being released in spaces. So again, now I have not looked for what companies are producing this product, because that's what we really need to know. So I'm going to be going down that rabbit hole, but that jumped into my field this morning. So as I was looking at bone water and blood and cement, it's interesting. Again, the one of the things that comes to mind with the bone water is that if you're getting traumatized energy into your body. And I was thinking about the French. I'm like, is that why they're so angry? The French can be kind of a tough crowd of folks. I love them. Kind of good friends that y'all got an edge to y'all. And when I travel around the world, I'm like, huh. And the Dutch have their own thing too, but it's a very interesting just looking at the people and how they're affected. And as we know about Rome, since it was a lead pottery that kind of made them all crazy, and off they went to implode and collapse as a civilization. It's our civilization that's looking at a plastic kind of poisoning. Another story I saw this morning was on going back to weather pollutions was they had found microplastics in the ice in Antarctica. And I'm like, oh, so it is not only in the water and in the food, but in the air. So we are breathing it. So when you see the poor birds that they opened up because they've eaten all the pollen and no nutrition, that's how they're dying. I remember a story from when I was in Chiang Mai Gardens, which was Mantak Chia's resort and training. Mantak Chia is a Taoist who's done a lot of work in a kind of an ayahuasca experience in a dark room where you just go dark for 3 weeks up and you get the visual diet and etc. What was there was their detox center, and I know the guy that's created another technology, but hydrocolonics, which I hate doing, and I should do more often, and pull out. I remember a story of pulling out six of plastics pulled that came out. Ooh, he is trying to process having a difficult time. So I hate to recommend them. High colonic colon therapy. What you think? One you would recommend? You have a chat session that you can comment on. I think yes, because I've been missing that, so I will do so. I'd love your thoughts on that. Okay, so what's next? La 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 la, bone water. I did that one. I did that one. I did that one. Stop sharing. Share again. Chrome tab. Okay. Now I'll go to, this is why I look for another one. I'm going to put this one up just because it's amusing. Meanwhile, back in LA, I was like, oh my God, are you kidding? This is my LA. I miss my LA, but we don't need that. So that was that little story. What is really going on also on the energetic levels is cosmic rays. And I've pulled up so many stories on that, and I just didn't get them all typed in, but I wanted to give you the main one and where I'm coming from, what's next. And as we have these novas, which are basically cosmic rays expansion, a star or sun goes nova, it blows up, and what it throws out are cosmic rays or neutrinos. And so we get hit with neutrinos, and that's potential. But the potentiality is based on what we do at home. So we've got the, are you awake? Are you, working on you? Great, you get more potentiality coming for that. If you're not awake and you're not working on you, you get more potentiality for that as well. And earlier this month, we had a couple of those waves hit, and we've got the equinox coming, and the next, this full moon was a particularly strong one. Interesting thing for me physically, I can pay attention to how the strengths of a particular solar cycle based on my body. So I've been postmenopausal for 14 years, and I was early menopausal because I went through chemotherapy. But because of that, I will every now and then go, wait a minute, I'm feeling it again. How is the moon so kicking into my body? And this one laid me down for a day. I was like, oh dear, I'm really aching. And I've seen it happen with men as well that are going through these, the body is just like, it's too much. And I'm in my new place, and where I'm looking at is I can see the moon rise, and it's just beautiful here at night to catch the moon, which is what sold me into the place. I'm like, oh, get those moon rays. But because of that, it's starting to make people a little more crazier. And one of the things I experienced when I was in El Paso, working for the El Paso Empowerment Zone, we had a funding request from the local hospitals for more emergency staff during the full moons. And why was that? I asked, they asked me for quite a bit of money. It was because people go crazy. And because we were in Fort Bliss, we had a high percentage of PTSD. And these guys would literally just full moon get in their car or motorcycle and drive as fast as they can down the I-10, trying to kill themselves or take out anybody with them. Or high family abuse, wife abuse, drug abuse, all of it was always hitting those cycles of the moon. So it made me pay attention as a government philanthropist. I went, oh, this is an issue. So when I'm watching the moon and watching what happens, what violence happens after that, and you might remember the story of the young man who, 17-year-old, who threw a child off a balcony. I forgot how old, a 5-year-old child off of the child fell 5 stories. He's stable condition in the hospital now, but and the young man himself to be arrested. We have no comments about no this kid. We know a lot of the suicides will happen, and the violence will happen when kids or adults try to get off their psychiatric meds, and that's where a lot of this reactionary stuff comes in. But I was like, I expect to see it in the news when we get the full moon. So just keep in mind when you're doing events, what days are scheduled and where you're at on full moons. I like to look at the Mayan calendar, and I didn't post the Mayans, forgive me, because it is a blue storm day, and blue storm, then I will share it earlier, but blue storms are always follow the resonant mirror, and I'm the resonant mirror, and if you've had your charts done by me, then you know your symbol, and there's 20 glyphs, but there's a dream cycle, a wave spell, which is 13 days, and that's their week. It's a 13-day cycle, and we are at the end of a cycle, which is a blue storm day. Blue storms is the days I like to stay home because there's usually something, cards break, things happen. But the mantra for today is I endure in order to transcending energy. I seal the matrix of self-generation with the cosmic tone of presence. I am guided by the power of abundance. and I'm a galactic activation portal. Enter me. So the Mayan language is very different. I really just ask you to just listen to the words that resonate and click into those, check into those, look deeper into those. Activation portal days are opportunities to go deeper and to activate a portal to other realm. Mayans are doing this at time cycles. They have 18 calendars, so they're into that. They pay attention to that. Oh. I see messages and I'm not paying attention. Oh, good for you, Mama. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to listen to that. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I try to cleanse spaces before I move into them, but saging them really kind of gets rid of spiritual things that are hanging around. Oh, just earthquake. Yeah, we're getting a lot more of those. We started that next cycle, and it's like, oh, it was a little. So, we're talking about feeling live these days. The buildings in Thailand, if people would die in them, most Thais would move out and just abandon the space because they embrace death and then they don't. It's interesting, again, how the religion does one thing and the culture does another. And it was always just kind of like, well, how come this ain't working if y'all all supposed to be getting along? But there was always a bit of a challenge that way. So back to what's going on with our neutrinos being expanded. Og Tellis is another young man I put a link into. Is a My Labs kid who was interesting. Some of the Twitter accounts I try to follow have been temporarily restricted. I'm like, media's cutting down on everything. They're not letting Twitter and even Google. Well, Google's always been doing their thing. On TV, try to find him. I can't find him now. I follow his tweets, and there's something else that's coming up. Oh, here we go. Okay. I'm going to share that with you. Share. My Labs kids. Oh, yay. Sunday. You're leaving Sunday. Does that mean you're coming my way? Check out Og. Underground bases, cloning, mind control, advanced technology, celebrities, truth unveiling. You are the observing force behind what is observed. His work is very interesting because he's made it, and he follows other people. And I like to kind of reference people who will pull and research and keep going and not make a judgment, but listen to the information and remember that we're observing the information, not we're part of it. One of the comments he made, though, was that if we're awake, everyone who's awake is already awake. And now we're getting the extremes of this into light. It's not what I wanted to hear. I want to, like Christianity says, we get to the last minute. And I'm like, well, what was the last minute? I got started in looking at the spiritual things when I was given a book called The Truth. And it was just a pamphlet, a book pamphlet of some Christian group who were looking at the end times. But they didn't know if Jesus was trib, and they challenged you, the reader, to figure it out. It pissed me off because I was hooked and I had to look it up. I was like, dang it, you're gonna make me do the research. All right. So I started researching and I kept finding problems with the Bible. And so I went, okay, you guys can't get your stories accurate, so I can't stick with you. But looking at that tribulation story was one of the toughest ones. And, when I finally understood biblical as a metaphysical and looking at planetary alignments, I went, aha, now things are starting to make sense. And I remember the song I used to sing, the stars of heaven shall fall, the moon shall turn into blood, and the sons of God shall arise, Zion awake. And when we started getting blood moons, I went, wait, I used to sing about this. Whoa, what's that about? And so I had to go back and pull out my Bible and start reading again and reread these stories and understand them from a different perspective. And I got to give the writers credit, because Constantine really, there's some good men in there that really had to try to hide truth and keep truth in a way that, mystery is what I was told as a kid. And I'm like, I'm not buying that. See, okay, and your kitty with you? What you going to do with the kitty? And I'm sorry, I think I wrote Glenda Jackson instead of Gilda Jefferson. I don't know. I know a Glenda Jackson, so I was putting her name in the welcome. So welcome, Gilda. It was nice to have you, and I'm glad you're moving and making things happen. And I know you've got that word. And one of the things I'm going to go back to Og real quick is that he is pointing out is that it is a time to save our energy and very focus on the direction we want to go, because the distractions are going to get bigger and louder. And fake internet is a real thing. And there's a lot of time wasters. And my favorite distraction is the America's Got Talent pieces, because I'm going, some of these people don't look human anymore. And there was a young brother from Canada who, can flip backwards and do strange contortion movements, and very flexible. And I know a couple guys like that are so flexible. You're going, I'm double jointed, so I understand flexibility, but these guys are on a level I've never seen bodies do that. And it's like, and now that there are more of them, I'm going, what's happening to our DNA? That it has shifted in that direction, that has made us do things differently. And I'm seeing it with gymnasts, because again, I followed the gymnastics world for years, but it was the looking at more of this next generation and what they can do. And Simone Biles, who's the most decorated gymnast ever now. I'm like, this girl is just pure strength. I mean, just, all predefined, highly defined muscle and agility that I never saw possible when I was a gymnast. And went, okay, this is, again, we have refined the body in a way that is pretty impressive. And I hope it'll continue without transmutation, without technology, but we'll see if we can get through that next. So, okay, good. You'll take her with you. Good. That is the world I've got in. I could questions. That's really what I want to know. Saying this is not a false flag by a conservative organization. So I just went, oh, that's how y'all gonna play? Then I just ain't gonna play no more. Registration for a retreat, please. If you're coming, let them come in so I can get my counts in. And we've got, I got some cool things I just want to tell you about. A guy who lived here, Harley Donnelly, white kid, rock and roll guy, smart as, those, I look for the lines. I'm like, it's got the intelligence. Okay, let me listen to you. He has really looked at all of the plant medicines here, and he's coming back, and he makes a line of rapé. And he makes 3 different types of rapé, which is the tobacco flower that has different, depending on what he mixes it with, it has either an ayahuasca blend or other medicinal pieces in it. And the town. This town is named after Wilco, but it's Vilcovama. Is a tree here. I'll have to show you the seeds, but um, he has he's the guy who's online with the video showing you how to make the Wilco paste and powder that you smoke. I think is how he's ingesting it. And it is a 5-MeO DMT, which is similar as the Bufo alvarius frog that is available. So it is, you can scrape the back of the frog and dry that and smoke that. And the 5-MeO DMT, I describe it, I've done it once, I describe it as kind of going behind the curtains of this reality. And so I think of this reality kind of like the Truman Show, we're in this bubble. But when you step behind the door, you know, it's all kind of wires and things. But in that reality, what I saw was these color blobs that looked like a kaleidoscope of color, but they were just kind of sound vibrations in color. And they were just rows and rows and rows. Either everywhere I open up my eyes and go, wait, is that really what I'm saying? Yes. And in those kind of, Terrence McKenna talks about the mechanical L's that came out and told him he was not in control. I didn't see any L's because I was just looking around going, what is this place? However, what was most telling was when it ended and all the bubbles just went zoop, and it came back and I was poof back into this reality. And it was like, oh, and you could see how the color blobs formed into something. And it was like, oh, okay, I see how it works. So I went, oh, we can get beyond that, is what we can in this dimension. So I went, it's interesting. So I do have work with several shamans here. And San Pedro is the one that is recommended first. So that is the one I advertise because it is the heart opener. And as Westerners, we have overdeveloped prefrontal cortex, meaning we're smart and we stay in our head. However, we have typically undeveloped heart regions. And so this is a medicine along with sarsaparilla. And so you familiar with sarsaparilla? That's another one medicine I was given by a Peruvian botanist who came out to LA and Beverly Hills and, you know, did a medicine thing. And I just went, oh my. And so he had, and it was in a pill form. And I took it and for 6 hours, I just smiled. And I was like, oh God, my face hurts. And I was asking him 3 hours into it, I said, what did you give me? And he told me why. And so that we developed that heart. Now, one of the things I tell you, one of the side effects I don't like is that I'm continually in that smiling position and I have to relax my face and stop smiling. San Pedro has had the same experience because it was the same kind of experience. It was like, oh, I'm feeling the heart muscles expand. I feel the smile coming in, and you can't stop it. So I'm like, I don't want to smile. My face hurts, you know, but it keeps kicking in. So it's an interesting side effect that continues. And one I would definitely want to recommend for people with broken hearts. I'd love to find a sarsaparilla or San Pedro and use that for people who've got broken hearts and healing that piece, because I can have definitely felt that experience of those tendons breaking in that area. And how do we fix it? You know, how do you mend a broken heart, as the song says. So that's what that was interesting to me about, and following up on that, looking at those details. So that's what I got to report. I can go on and on, ladies, but I unfortunately going down and going up and moving from one second story to the other has kept me on Tylenol more than I expected to be. I was like, ow. So I am trying to stretch, but I'm not sleeping well yet. And I am closer to a cell phone tower, but I've got more technology protection where I'm at. So I'm hoping one will mitigate another. I want to do some more look at the nanobots, and I'm going to dig into more of that this next week and look at where that technology is coming from. I saw a story from Dr. Catherine Hooper out of Switzerland, and she was showing the nanobots made from the manufacturer and how they kind of cover the eye. And you can shine a UV light or black light. If you remember the black lights, and the eyes were black back in the day, but now we all have this little purplish, bluish film in our eyes. And if you've had cataract surgery, and I notice when I'm wearing my glasses, it has a UV filter, and you see that bluish there. And so it blocks the filter, but it's still there. So, and I've seen it on children as young babies as well. There's a guy here in town that's got a UV flashlight. And so I was just doing a survey at a party one night and just checking everybody. Can I just check your eyes or something? We're like, what are you up to now, Phyllis? I'm like, just looking. And that was, and it was the baby who had the least amount and the women who had had cataract surgery. And one woman had had one eye done and the other not. So it was like one had the UV light and one was black. And I went, interesting. So that's what has changed is the nanobots are in the air and everywhere. In my book, Owning Masculinity, I talk about the nanobot sperms that are now available because the male sperm is so weak, and it's a couple different kinds. Ones that are little screws that get behind the head and push, which, okay. And the other ones attach itself to the head and enter into the fetus. So I'm like, uh-oh. You get nanobot babies, so they're whatever they're injecting is coming into the fetus. So, not looking forward to that. What that looks like, but we'll go from there. So I'm gonna add you on. This is the part where I add you on, and I get to chat at you and smile at you and talk to you, and unmute your mic. I'm unmute. There it is. Hey, girl, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
No complaints. No complaints. It's like a day on the ground means a day I get to get something done. So I'm grateful for that. And it moved that ball down the court. That's it. Again, I said I'm the Dallas Cowboy fan, so I was raised with the Hail Mary pass. It's just, okay, we're going for it. We're going to see what happens. So how's Mexico? And you ready to head out?
Yes, I'm ready to head out. Mexico is interesting. I stopped searching for housing and different things and just started watching the people. And it's been interesting. This area and the people, I remember my travel chart to here and being faced with, excuse me, more challenges with this. I think it's the sun and the moon that crossing right here and just various things, and just the conversations are more, seem to be, have more emotion, and that was correct. It's just been interesting. And so I just watch, there's a lot of activity, so to speak here. I sent you that story of one of the pueblos where it's very, very active here, very active. And I was wondering what was going on. That's what made me start researching. And then when I saw that article, I was like, oh, that's it. Very socially accepted, very, which I'm not judging, but it's just interesting. The people I met here have been very interesting. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. Just one thing. It's just been numerous things that's just kind of okay.
And are you pay attention to the cycle? You'll see more activity as we get closer, and we're still under full moon energy. So it subsides, and we kind of get back in our right brain again, or left brain, if we think about it that way. But it is one that in Thailand is when I started noticing it, because we were finding, and when guys would come to me and say, yeah, I get affected by the moon. And at the time I was researching the hormonal cycles of men and finding men had more cycles than women did. And I was like, how does that work with their testosterone levels? 24, 21 day, 24-hour cycles, 21 day. I'm going to mute you so I can talk so I won't get back feed. 24-hour, 21 day, and 6-month cycles. So because of that, they have ebb and flows of testosterone energies that get out of hand sometimes. Especially when I saw him running down the street at night, I went, uh-oh, that's testosterone kicking in again. Here, I'm miking you again. Okay.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I don't know what to think, or I just feel the need to get rid of all attachments, which is very challenging because I've gotten rid of, sold all my belongings and all of that stuff. And then the only thing I have left are these pets. So getting rid of all attachments, and I just feel the need to travel. I don't know what that is about.
Good.
But I know that this right here is not my final destination.
Good. Got places to go and people to see. I hear you. I'm with you, and I wanted to mention the story, and I'm going to post it. The cross-dressing community in Oaxaca is what Gilda was referring to, and I'll put a link up for that because it was again, I look at what's in their water, because I lived in El Paso, and the maquilas, or the twin plants they used to call back then, they would dump all the chemicals into the river and they all flowed down. And I went, they've been doing that all over the country. And they were doing that in the 80s and the 90s when I was working there. And then you started seeing young girls developing breasts and having puberty at 9, because we're like, oh, what's changed? What has happened? And as I've seen the chemical changes, and what my understanding was from my chemotherapy, the ABDV combo I did affected you in 3 ways. It weakened the immune system, the endocrine, and the fertility. And I went, uh-huh. And as we've all had 80 years of Monsanto and Dow and DuPont, we're the chemical generation of humans on the planet. So it's interesting, and I'm amazed at older people who don't have the kind of issues that the younger are doing. Especially as a dom, I rarely see older men cross-dressing. If they were born, if they're baby boomers, yeah, but beyond that, and so yeah, I'm not surprised. So that's another week. You leave on Sunday, and you'll be back in Arkansas, Middle America somewhere.
Yes, I'm going to Houston. I have various places to go, and some appointments. So I'm going to Houston, and then to Arkansas, and then to Louisiana, and yeah, I have a whole list, huge to-do list. Hello?
Yeah, there it is. It's locked. Okay, there it is. It locked for a minute. Sorry. All right, I heard Arkansas, but you are traveling.
Yes.
All right. Well, sister, safe journeys.
Thank you.
Send messages so I know where you're at safely. Oh, I forgot to mention, let me mention one other thing. Oberon, I'm going to be doing a guided meditation, and this is really for the guys. He does a guided meditation for men. And I was chatting with him at this high priestess ordination that was done here in town, and the croning ceremony. And I'm going to be recording that meditation, and I'm going to ask him to do one for women as well. But I'm going to interview him again because he was... he had some interesting things to say, and I taught him a few things, so he was kind of amused. I went, oh, we need to, and he gifted me. I wanted to share this with, I call it, is twat, is what I call it. But it was a little brown vagina, and this is a little old white man who said, yeah, I'm kind of used to the pink ones. But it was gifted to him from a woman who said, you're going to find a woman to give this to. And he said, "You're the woman." I said, "Well, I'm the talking twat because I got something to say and my pussy got something to say too." So I had to say, "Thank you. I'll keep talking." And since my focus has always been on let's learn as much as we can about our sexual nature so that we not make the mistakes that we have and the shame and that misery that comes with sexuality and not being able to communicate the most intimate thing. I went, wait, we must be doing this wrong because this can't be the way this is supposed to be. So I was focused on learning as much as I can with that and doing what I can. So thank you again. I will blessings to you, sister. Again, safe journey. Let me know when you're coming my way. I want to have you here. I'd love to
Okay,
have
I
you
will.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Have a good
You have a good
day.
day. Bye bye.